Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday meeting. I hope you all had a good 4th and got through the weekend, it looks like. Under budget, we'll just go down the list. It looks like Marin Corrections. Oh, yeah. Kathy usually,
You can wing it.
yeah, I know Kathy makes the reports. Is she? She's here today. We can give her a minute, yeah, unless you have something you want to talk about otherwise.
How's the AC at the jail? How's the AC at the jail? You mean it's got the Arpaio treatment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the jail section isolated from the office sections AC wise?
Yes, they're separate. They're not on the
Yeah.
parts.
We used to have some issue even in our new administration building in the hot weather, you know, we'd put a sprinkler up there to try and keep it cooled down. And here's the explanation we got is, well, we don't have enough weather up here for you to get the Arizona conditioners.
Yeah, the counter, when I bought a house here, when I first came up, so the counter that when I came up here, I assumed people knew how to build in a rain environment.
Yeah.
Had all
different.
kinds of problems.
Sounds like Kathy's running a little behind. Is there any other departments that have stuff other than just the budget review? I'm not seeing any. Did she give you any of her charts, Marin?
I have the charts in front of me. Yes, I have the charts in front of me.
You can take a look at them.
I pretty much understand them, but I
Here
did
we
not
go.
put these reports together. Oh, hello. That's all right. I was going to muddle my way through. Good.
Sorry I'm late. Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. We'll have handouts in a minute. We're having some printing issues. But for the Corrections Department, really the quarterly updates, finance, we didn't see anything as far as significant variances from budget. They're on track for their budget, and I don't believe there's anything really to report as far as anything unusual.
Nothing unusual.
Yeah, and this is the quarterly update. This will be the quarterly update for corrections.
So normally we would see this quarterly unless there were something unusual, in which case it's
Right.
always.
And I'm still going to provide the financial reports to you on a quarterly basis. But I will just verbally report to you. We won't go over all the numbers. I'll just report to you if there's any anomalies or anything that's requiring a budget amendment.
I should have said at the beginning, Commissioner Weber's not in today, so.
Okay.
So you're stuck with the two of us. You sent me the email on the Kroger. Do you want to just update? I don't know if Commissioner Mortensen was
Okay.
on that or not.
Yeah, so on the Kroger, the Janssen was on the portal as far as the participation agreement before. The Kroger is not out there yet, but David sent me the paperwork, and so we'll be getting the Kroger participation signed and to you. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as the Janssen, which was on the portal and you could do it, so. So it's moving along, but just
Yeah.
haven't. And then there's another payment for the distributor I believe that Gina had already told y'all about, there'll be a July payment on the distributor. That's the one that's over 17 years.
Yeah,
And that will be like $177,000. And that will be the last payment for this year on the distributor. They're just doing an annual payment. And the Janssen was the one that was a lump sum. It was like over $900,000, and it was a lump sum.
and it's came in.
It came in, I think either June, the very end of June.
Towards the end of June.
Yep. So the numbers she reported to you, were accurate. But we'll have one more payment on the distributor this month. And I don't know what the Kroger payment will be. So.
Just as an aside, that it is very difficult now for physicians to prescribe properly. And that is really a problem. Even this week, I have some grandkids from San Diego, and prescriptions don't move very easily anymore. It's certainly unfriendly to normal doctor-patient relationship. And that actually has me quite annoyed, upset.
Yeah.
That's all we need is a bureaucrat to be between you and your doctor.
Yeah. Anything else on the jail?
No,
I don't
I'll
need to-
hand you your the financial set.
Who is Kroger? Are they the parent of any supermarkets around here?
Isn't Kroger the parent of Fred Meyer? Isn't Fred Meyer part of the Kroger group now?
Thank you. Did you mean to give me all of these?
Yes. Is that all?
There's jail, general fund, jail, general fund, jail, general fund. How do I tell between them? I'll keep one. It's all right.
Yeah. The only question I would ask Kathy, just to kind of, I know part of some of the stuff we do over at the jail comes out of that mental health tax. Are we on target on that?
Yes, they were budgeted for basically a status quo on their mental health tax. And so it's a transfer in to the jail. And that transfer in happens based upon their submission of reimbursement. And so we're utilizing, of course, our fund balance.
Yeah, but all the stuff looks like it's going along what we thought it would do. We're not seeing any big spikes or anything.
No.
Okay.
I'm Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. The only thing I was going to share is on revenue. We're it looks like a little behind on goods and services. That represents the payments we get from the cities for housing their misdemeanor inmates. That's representing 4 months. So the reason it's behind is just timing, billing timing and receiving the payment.
On that, we get paid quarterly?
We bill monthly, but just with
Whenever.
working in government, things take time to get payments back from cities. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay.
Have you seen any change in volumes with the changes in the laws?
We saw a very large change in volume
Did you?
last year in misdemeanors. It's
so much this year?
still up, but tapering down
Okay,
somewhat.
because I know the cities were concerned about it.
Right. Yeah, their bills
That-
doubled, tripled in
Yeah.
some cases, but
Yeah.
that's based on how many people they're booking into jail.
Yeah.
That was all I had.
Uh, Just a couple of questions. When do you have to renegotiate the health insurance or the health care contract again?
We just signed an extension. It'll be in 3 years,
That was 3 months ago or something like that?
something like that.
And that's a
It
year
was a
long?
3% increase for the next 2 years. So we went ahead.
3% for the next 2
Yeah,
years?
so we went ahead and
That's good.
signed the amendment to extend it,
Yeah.
and then we'll go out to bid at the.
And
3-year
that's all
mark.
in the budget then?
It is,
So
yes.
we shouldn't expect a surprise there.
No.
I forget what my other question was. Sorry.
That's probably good too, because there's not a lot of insurance providers in your
Correct.
arena. There,
Correct. There are two large companies that provide the service.
there are some that quite frankly don't want to do business in Washington.
Right, not in Washington. Yes, that is true.
Yeah, as a cost escalation, 3% is marvelous.
Yeah.
Yes. that
Congratulations.
was part of the reason I recommended that we move forward with that.
So for a fleeting moment, I remembered the question. So the way you compute the daily charge is kind of using history of the previous 12 months or something like that?
Correct.
And
Yes.
so if you had a substantial step up in the current year from the past year due to the municipalities or the Department of Corrections, your budget would then show a spike up. Is that right?
If their daily rate increases,
Yeah.
yes. We're negotiating the contract with the cities right now. The previous contract had a 5% cap. So if our budget increases higher than that, we were capped at 5%. That's also the cap the state gives us for DOC. It's a 5% increase every year.
Yeah, that one you don't have much control over.
Right.
The other one, your costs go up more than 5%, right?
Right. So we're still negotiating
Oh,
that
okay.
contract, and we're changing the way we approach the daily rate as well.
If you have a cap of 5%, is that a cap on all-in costs or is that a cap on some portions of the cost?
Historically, that would have been all cost. It would, basically, the formula was you use the previous year's budget and the average daily population. So if you have in COVID, like we dropped down to 70, obviously with no cap, that would just blow that rate up into a really big number. So we're changing the formula to 2 parts, where some of it will be based on fixed cost at capacity, and the inmate related costs will be a second portion based on average daily population, which will even it out.
And just to understand what your constraints are, do folks in the city have a legal requirement to use your jail, or could they hypothetically contract with the jail in Lewis County?
Currently, under our current contract, they cannot contract out.
But
They
they-
cannot house inmates in other facilities. That's another negotiation point as
So
well.
that is a point
Right.
of
But
negotiation.
for example, Lewis County contracts some of their inmates out to other facilities because they're at capacity, and Clark County has no room. So it
Yeah.
becomes a little bit more, you're having to go to like Yakima, so it becomes a little more complicated.
Well, your population is primarily, 3 months is the maximum there. I mean, the peak of the number of people in is no more than 3 months. In other words, you could only contract out the ones who are going to be there for the whole year.
Or the ones that are sentenced.
Already
You're not going
sentenced.
to, you can't contract out typically people that still have court appearances
Yeah.
because they need to come back.
Okay. Thanks, Marin. Roads. It's hard not to give Mr. Sean a hard time ever since I've been out the gun range and found out he's quite the shot. I got Deadeye Roy over there.
I always treat him with utmost respect,
Yeah.
even when he doesn't deserve it.
Okay, Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. On roads, as far as their financials, their revenues, actually for taxes are ahead of our targets. And for prior year and for current year. And then on intergovernmental, we're a bit behind on our projections there as far as target compared to, we're above last year's number, but we're below our target. And that's primarily due to, and we're going to be probably doing a budget amendment later on those as far as projects. And so we expect to do that probably in the third or fourth quarter, amend the budget down on intergovernmental. That will also have an impact on capital expenses. They will go down a corresponding amount as well. And then goods and services, we are pretty much above last year this time, and right on track for actually we're ahead on the budget. And so that's on the revenue side. And then on the expenditure side, basically the personnel expenses doesn't currently for the current year doesn't include all of June payroll yet. That will be posting. The second half of June will be posting very soon, probably today. And of course, our capital is behind target, but that's because we're going to our reimbursement contracts. We're going to be amending that. And then that's really in the negative on debt service has to do with the 2023 subscription-based transaction that was reversed in January of 24. So basically, I don't think there's really not a tremendous amount of variance that we're concerned about on the expenditure side, other than we're going to be amending the capital line item. So thanks. I'll let Sean take over from there.
Yes,
The
so,
intergovernmental is the only one that really catches my eye because we're quite a bit behind on there. We're about
Right.
20%.
and that's directly tied to our capital projects. The intergovernmental also includes all of our grant dollars. So as we've talked about, the Cloverdale Road,
Yeah.
our Dyke Road and Garlock Road are three big projects that have been pushed off pretty far this year into next year. And that's about $10 million a project right there. So that we will be seeing a budget amendment on those coming in to remove those from the 24 budget mostly and into the 25 budget.
So is it fair to say it's more of a timing
Mhm.
thing than a revenue thing?
Yeah, with, Cloverdale, we had some right-of-way issues and the tire dust issues we had
The
talked
tire dust
about.
issues
Yeah.
on those bicycles.
And then on the Dyke Road reconstruction, that's about a $2.1 million project. We're still waiting on the Corps of Engineers to get back on that one. And then our Garlock Road culvert replacement, we have some right-of-way issues that we're working on there still. On the revenue side, though, our timber excise tax and our leasehold excise tax all came in above what the expectations were. And then the treasurer's office has been doing a great job on investment earnings as well. And so because we've had some of those setbacks on the capital project side, we've pivoted on our maintenance projects during the budget amendment here just a week ago. Last week,
Mhm.
we added in, a $2.1 million overlay into the budget that wasn't originally there. And then we'll see spending for our chip seal program and our striping program. So we see about a $5 million spend here in the next month and a half for our annual maintenance projects there. So that'll pick up some of those services we're kind of lacking on when we do the comparison here.
On the intergovernmental revenue, are there any uncertainties there?
The biggest uncertainty, of course, and we've talked about in the past, is the motor vehicle fuel tax and the ongoing income coming from that. We have seen that decreasing over the years, but that would be the main item I'd say of
So any
uncertainty.
of the other project plans are hard in, it's just a matter of the timing.
Correct, yeah.
And tell me again about the fuel tax?
So the motor vehicle fuel tax, every time we pump a gasoline, there's a tax on that.
Yeah.
And the county gets a certain percentage of that back.
And that's been going down?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
We saw it go
That
down.
includes the taxes from fuel, all fuel?
I believe that's all fuel, if I remember correctly, Susan.
Yes, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer. Yes, that is all fuel. But the last few sessions, when they've added dollars to our fuel tax, it has been nickel packages, so they go directly to projects. So even though the fuel tax itself has gone up, we are not getting any more because we get that small percentage of what is a direct reimbursement to
Is
the
it
counties and the
percentage or
state.
just a fixed amount?
Yes, of a certain amount of let's say there's 25 cents of fuel tax, there's 5 cents of it that's broken up by the percentage, and then the other 20 cents is project directed. So the last few fuel packages, they have not increased that 5 cents that's the direct distribution. They've increased it project specific.
Plus, and I don't remember the figures, but listening to Crab talk one day, a lot of the tax they get goes to pay debt.
Yes.
So then very little is left over, although they've amassed this big pot of money from the carbon tax they added. I would suggest they pay off the debt, but they won't listen.
As long as you're up there, what are the numbers roughly about miles traveled? Are we, if you aggregate all the miles, are we up or down?
The miles that people are actually traveling,
Yeah.
I would say we're probably up. I don't know that for sure. That would be my guess based on how people are traveling, especially now that obviously miles were way down in 2020, 2021, they started coming back up. I think we are probably back up and above what we were in 2019.
I think it is, Arnold. I'm trying to remember because the last legislative session, and it's in there, it'll be in there again about the mileage tax, the
Yeah.
per mile tax and the monitoring. And when they were presenting that at one of the meetings I was at, I think the mileage trend was up. They were doing mileage trend is up and revenue is here. We need to do something type things.
Right, the
Yeah.
usual.
Yeah.
What puzzles me about that is I think I intuitively or intrinsically, whatever the right word is, from observation on the highways, it seems like traffic is unabated from before. Before meaning $2 a gallon or $2.50 a gallon to $4 a gallon. And I'm like, do we have that extra money lying around? I didn't think the people in general did. There's a message in there, but I don't understand it.
I think I still have to go to work. I still want to take my vacation. It's less hassle than flying. Trains aren't cheap, in this part of the country. All of those
That's true
things.
too. But I think most people, like during the gas crunch way back before, about the time you were born, people would combine trips.
Mhm.
I got to go to the store. Do you want to go to the store? Talking to your neighbor. And I haven't seen any sense of consolidation of travel that way. It's the same way I find the affordable housing crisis kind of strange. When you can't afford a house by yourself, you share. I grew up on the back side of a house. And that's what you did if you couldn't afford your own. We don't seem inclined to do that anymore. Anyhow.
This is off the subject here, but I'm this afternoon, I'm down in Vancouver and I meet with Army Corps and Department of Ecology. They invited me down to talk about Tootle out there. So I just what I wanted to tell them is we're looking at an alternative road, and I don't know where I know you started on looking at some of the feasibility of that, to do that, but the engineering, and then if we have to build that road, the other one just goes away. If we build a new road, then the other road, it's gone. And so I think we were talking about 750 a million.
Yes, that's what we were, the initial thumbnail was that, about that estimate.
Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you,
good.
Commissioners.
Okay, thanks. Don't worry, you'll still get to go to the firing range. Finance. Anybody's budget should be in line. It should be yours, right? Oh,
Okay, so this is a quarterly, well, this is actually a monthly. We do monthly updates for the entire county during this session. And so the first area is revenue versus expense. And so we're showing 2024 revenues, 2024 expenses for some of our major departments. General fund, our revenue is a little over 29 million, 29.6 million basically. Our expenses as of right now are 31.8 million. So for a deficit of 2.2 million as of right now. Our county road, which we just presented, revenue is about almost 12 million, 12 million. And then our expenses as of right now are 6.6 for a surplus of 5.3. And then our health department revenue is 2.1, almost 2.2 million, with expenses at 1.5 million for a surplus of 700,000. Building and planning is revenues 1.6 million and expenses as of right now are 1.3 million for a surplus of $337,000. So we're pretty much on track. And in some cases, we're sitting very well on our surplus as of right now.
is it fair to say that when I look at and I'm just talking, let's just talk general fund. I think the expenses are in line with what we expected.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I have another slide to show that.
Okay. Because I think what we're struggling with here is tax receipts, sales tax receipts.
Yes. And I have some updated information on that as well.
But if that continues, then we need to make some adjustments on the other side. And
Yes.
I know you've been thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my next slide is just kind of at a glance, some of the major revenues. I added a couple of lines in there that I needed to delete, but I was going too quickly on this slide. So the one is real and personal property tax. So for the general fund, we budgeted 19.8 million. We budgeted a little lower than previous year on that because we were trying to get it closer to actuals. So we're at 56% collection of those revenues as of June. And last year at this time, we were at 51%. And the county road on personal property tax, we budgeted 13.7 million, a little bit higher than we did the year before. And we're pretty much in alignment with the year before. We're, as far as collections, 7.6 million, and last year at the same time, 7.6 million. And then the sales tax, while we're behind the amounts from last year, we still are on track with our budget. And so remember, there's a 2-month lag on sales tax. So we're at 3.4 million, and last year at this time, we're at 3.8 million. So a little bit behind last year's, but I believe we're on track with how I budgeted, because last year our actuals came in at about 12 million, a little over 12 million. And so I budgeted for 11.9 million. So I budgeted conservatively.
So if I take the 3.44 and multiply by 4, that's what I should see, and that comes in about right then.
Right on
Okay.
budget. So I believe we're going to come in on budget. We're just not trending well compared to last year. And so I have another slide to walk you through by month on that.
Okay.
On mental health tax, this is the one where the tax only went through the month of March. So we had our budget at 800,000, basically 807. We've brought in year-to-date 745,000. Last year, when you try to look at it, it's not going to compare because of the fact that that was for a full year, which was 2.4 million budget. And we brought in $1 million as of this point last year. And then I added a couple of other lines that y'all may have not seen before in some of our presentations for the county, but motor fuel, it's kind of ironic you ask about the motor vehicle fuel tax for roads. I'm showing you this number. We're at, we budgeted almost $2 million, little less than what we had budgeted for last year. And we brought in 639,000, but that's a little bit higher than what we did this point in time last year. It was 630,000. And this too, I believe, is on a 2-month lag of when we get paid this tax.
Oh, this is a 2 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. So,
So
and-
we're actually ahead then.
yeah, it looks like we're right on track. And you've got your,
Can we go on a
Okay.
2-month leg to giving it to them?
yeah.
I'm
so,
teasing, of course.
And then the PUD privilege tax, this is one I thought, since it's $2 million, I would show it on this presentation as well. We're ahead of last year at this time. I think this one only comes in once during the year. So we've exceeded budget, so. And then timber excise tax, I'm showing this one as well because we have it for the general fund and the county road. And for the road fund, we're well over budget at 746 and well over what it was last year at this point in time. So this is just at a glance. And the totals don't match because I didn't include every single line that was on here. If it was not significant, I didn't include the line, but the totals, I didn't adjust the totals, so.
By that, you mean if I add up the columns? that we
Yeah,
did?
if you added that column up, it's not
A
gonna
bit
add up.
strange, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't have time to change my totals. We were already,
Sure.
I was cut and pasting into the PowerPoint. The sales tax is the next one that I have, and it's, this is the one you're used to seeing where we're showing every month's collection compared to last month's collections. And this is where we're currently below the point in time for last year. So anywhere from 2% below on a month to as much as 20% below comparison. The next one is the document recording fees. And for this one, we have two slides, one that's the actual revenue. And so this one you're seeing that we're below some months and above other months. And so this is only through the month of May. I don't have the numbers yet. This comes from the auditor's office. They prepared this for us. And so this is, but in total, it's not drastically off where we were last year at this point in time when you look at it. The percentages. And then the transaction numbers trend pretty much with the revenue. Most of the months we're just slightly above where we were at this point last year, except for the month of March, we were down in number of recording fees, doc recording fees. Any questions on doc recording fees?
But just kind of a little bit surprising because it's so a lot of dependence on real estate transactions.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's nice seeing it still
Yeah,
up there.
it's
I'm
nice
just a
seeing
little
that we're
surprised
not
at it.
drastically reduced.
Actually, do you know what the breakdown of the documents that are recorded? Like, how much do we collect for real estate transactions versus other transactions?
No, I don't know, but I can, if you'd like,
Carolyn gets that, so.
yeah, if Carolyn's on, maybe. Or I could find that out for you. Okay, going on to property taxes. I'm showing you as of this point in time, I have two slides. One is for 2024. And this shows you that, year-to-date receipts for the 2024 levies, property tax levies on general fund. We've already collected $11 million through June 30th. And so we're sitting at an ending balance of 8.6 still to collect. This also shows you all the previous year's balances on collections. And then comparing it to this point in time, the next slide shows you 2023. We're ahead on our collections just slightly because last year at this point in time, we had collected 10.9 million. And this year we're collecting a little over 11 million. And so our balance, amazingly, is almost exactly the same on amounts still to be collected. This year's compares very nicely to last year, 8.6 compared to 8.6. So. And typically we collect, once the year is over, about 99% of our property tax assessments are collected. Any other questions on that? And then I listed for you some of the projects that I'm working on in 2024.
The only other comment on that last column, the 8.6 and then the 8.6, and then compared to the bottom, what I'm getting at is the delinquent amount hasn't really changed much. And
no.
to me, that's
No.
good. I mean, I wouldn't want to see that start growing like crazy. So.
Right. And that's why I thought this slide was important to show we're very stable on our collections of our property taxes.
So are you assuming like the 162,000 is tax that was never collected, then it's a delinquent tax is what you'd call it then?
Well, that's what I'm calling, because your property taxes are due in the April and October, right?
right, April
So
and
if
October.
you're in 2023, those are people that didn't make those
Right.
payments for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And on down, and you see it goes all the way back to 2016, very small amount in 2016, but it goes back to 2016. So if we started seeing that block of stuff grow from 300,000 to 4 to 5 to 6, then that's kind of a concern, but it's,
yeah. So in 23, your 22 taxes, which would be delinquent taxes, there were 162,000 ending balance at this point in time. So as of right now, if you look at the 2022 line, it's gone down to 77,000. So you've collected
yeah.
quite a bit of the delinquent taxes from last year. So,
I'm just pointing out that that's not a negative indicator.
Yeah.
It could be a negative indicator if it was
Right.
really racing the other way.
these are the slides that I'll be showing, pretty much every single month, looking at property taxes, revenues at a glance, and looking at our expenditures as well. Okay, that concludes my finance presentation.
Any questions? I appreciate it.
Are you ready for building and planning?
Yeah.
I think they're on the list.
Oh.
Okay, on building and planning, on their revenues, they're slightly below target projections on their licensing and permits, but it's only slightly, it's not material. Goods and services is above their target on their budget and compared to prior year. So there's no indication of anything that, and again, this is a quarterly presentation for them. And on the expenses, their personnel are below our budget target and our comparison, but that's because the second half of June payroll hasn't posted yet. And other than that, I'm not concerned about their expenditure areas. So, and again, we'll be monitoring this on a quarterly basis.
On the previous presentation, it sounded like collectively building and planning was ahead by 300,000 or so.
Mhm. Yes, on the finance.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as a surplus, revenues versus expenses.
Right. So it takes me a while to digest this. If the revenues are down, that mean the expenses are considerably faster down. Or notice.
Yeah,
No, if the revenues are down, we just wouldn't be taking in as many building permits, but they've maintained.
Right, but if your revenue's down and you have a surplus,
The revenues are up. We have 1.6 million in revenues and 1.3 in expenses.
yeah. Oh, wait.
And then on community long-range planning, really, it's, there isn't any significant revenues that have been budgeted there. And so we'll just be monitoring that. And then on the expenditures, the second half of the June payroll hasn't posted yet. So that's why the actuals are below the targets in comparison. And then on services, their services expenses are lower than this point in time last year and lower than where we target them. So I don't see anything unusual. And this one typically only varies if they get a grant or a contract.
Not a big deal, but just refresh my memory on the first one I'm looking at. FTE 2000, last year we had one open, this year we don't. Is that a position we just decided you didn't need?
Yes, and we,
That's what I
yep,
thought,
we did
but I
some
just-
movement and we, I gave up a position. And this year, we have an employee being paid through the 15th of this month. And then we're regrouping actually this week to see what we're going to do with that position. We believe it's needed and we kind of have a different idea of how we might refill that position.
That's more just refreshing me.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for the financial statements. And then if Tracy has anything she wants to add.
Commissioners, I don't have much other than good morning, happy Monday. I have our monthly reports up here if anybody in the public wants to see them. We've maintained our numbers there. It's been kind of nice. We've not really seen much of a drop off. So June was still hopping. So the numbers show, the revenues are still coming in. So
Do you maintain a suggestion box?
we do.
And do you have a complaint box, or is that the suggestion box
It's a
also?
suggestion box. Yeah.
What kind of numbers are you seeing in there?
We don't get many. We get a lot of kudos to staff for their help. So-and-so explained a process or took time to help them. They were very patient with them. We get a lot of the thank yous, which is nice.
Yeah, it sounds like we're making headway. I don't receive complaints, no.
They've
We have
certainly
our
come
frequent
down.
flyers that they complain about everything, but that's okay. We just try to explain the process and move
Yeah.
through.
You're never going to eliminate them,
No,
but I think and whatever you call it, where you sit down with them beforehand and explain the whole
conference.
process.
the
has
staff
been-
consults, those are
the
huge
consults,
help.
If people take advantage of those, have been
Yep.
major help in.
Well, we just kind of
and
give
get
them a
through the
path forward
process.
and we make it to where their path works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we truly try. Staff truly takes a lot of time and we bring in public works staff, environmental health. We try to kind of do a wraparound approach to where they have all the information they need before they start their process. Some take advantage, some don't, and then they get angry along the way.
What's the latest on the private roads?
We go to, our Building and Planning Advisory Committee meets next, a week from Thursday. I think it's the 18th. And at 2:00, Susan's going to present the new version of what the BPAC and the public had kind of requested. And so she's going to bring that forward. So we're anxious to see it. We've not seen it yet. I smile. So we're curious. We're ready to see. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any regulation changes that are coming down that are going to have severe impact on us? We've talked about some.
There's the seasonal burn ban will be in effect on July 15th, if not sooner. And I think Mike Wilson was waiting for a call, but nothing's been made yet. So I think we're still on for July 15th unless something changes. I know that today and tomorrow is supposed to be hot, but then it's supposed to drop a little bit, but it usually goes in effect on the 15th.
And the natural gas ban, or however that goes, is that actually in place?
I'm going to turn that over to Mike. He sighed.
Morning, Mike Wilson, building official. There is I'm sure you've seen signatures of wanted at various locations to combat that very topic. There currently isn't a ban implemented in the building code for natural gas. It's just very challenging to make use of it. But seeing on the
Explain
horizon
that.
that this is a very possible scenario, there are mechanisms in place now to combat that effort. So, in fact, I signed one at Walmart the other day.
Yeah. Because I hope we are not genuflecting to a stupidity like that.
Pardon me?
I hope we're not genuflecting to a stupidity like that. In other words, if somebody's building a house, we should not tolerate something that says you can't use natural gas.
No, our place in this is to be informative with understanding that these are rules and regulations that are passed down by legislature of the state of Washington. To be helpful, we're firm, but we're fair. And as I talked to the inspectors this morning, again, that is their position in this, not to be an obstruction, to be an asset in the process. Watched an interesting video over the weekend. It's an older video podcast, Adam Carolla and Gavin Newsom. And they went off, the discussion went off from Carolla, who used to be a contractor, about the process of building and planning and the nonsense and so forth and the obstruction. And of course, Gavin Newsom just nodded his head and agreed with everything he said, not knowing anything about it. But the big takeaway was this from Carolla's perspective is the obstruction that building and planning departments create. And they become this monolithic tunnel vision, agents of the bureaucracy, in which case they don't assist those who are the customer. And we try and emphasize that, firm but fair, seek remedies where you can, be helpful. There's the letter of the code, then there's the intent of the code. If you can present something that is a viable alternative, let's take a look at it. One of Carolla's points he just would not let go of was air gaps on dishwashers. Those little devices are located above the countertop to prevent backflow into the dishwasher. And his example he presented was that the manufacturer had designed such a dishwasher that did not require the air gap. It was built into the design. And yet the particular building official or department, or whatever the case is where this was located, refused to accept that simply because the code says you shall have this. It's like, well, the designer has understood this requirement and is designed a way around it. And the department refused to accept it. That is a perfect example of the reputation that some building departments have. Not willing to, look beyond the code book, raise their eyes and see that there are alternatives available, and let's make use of them. So, and that's the message, the big takeaway I've delivered to the inspectors and staff, plans examiners is firm but fair, but, keep your mind open. Things do change. And if we can assist someone to finding a better way to accomplish what they need to do, let's do it.
Yeah, that's very much to the credit of your department. Let me ask a follow-up to it, which is pretty point blank. I'm going to come to you with plans for my house, including a gas stove. Do I have a problem?
No.
Okay.
Now, the code as it's currently written will ask you to, or require that you trade this for that,
Oh, so it's not like I can put a gas stove.
Oh, you can do it.
Without buying something elsewhere that I may not want.
There may be some energy conservation methods and materials and so forth that they'll implement to offset your desire to use the gas. You know, they're achievable, but the complaint I received from the public is that they tend to be expensive.
It can be expensive, excessive.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference between having to do something that actually is beneficial for you versus having to do something that's just political football.
Can I
No comment.
make a request of you guys at some point in time? I was, last Woodland City Council I sit in on, Travis Goddard did a presentation on international building codes. And I thought it was interesting because it's on how it came about and stuff. Now, his take on it would be different than my take on why it come about, but I thought it was good information for when you just hear the title. I think you think something totally different than what it is and how it applies and bleeds down to the states and bleeds down to us. So I wouldn't mind seeing something of that, if you wouldn't mind putting together, and you may be able to even steal Travis's slides. I just think it'd be good for the public to kind of hear some of that. I thought it was interesting to understand. I didn't, I would take issue with some of the reasons why they did it, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's just good information for people to have.
I can get a hold of
Certainly.
Travis and see what they had, and we can present something from Cowlitz County side.
Yeah.
Gladly.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One miscellaneous, let me take care of real quick, because I forgot to do it last week. Commissioner Mortensen currently sits on a disability board. That board comes up for renewal in September, and I'm suggesting that we just, if he was willing to do it, to ask him to sit on that board through the end of the year. We as commissioners in January or February, I forget when
In
we do
January.
it, we take a look at all that stuff anyway and divvying up. And I don't see really a need to, if you're willing to do it, to change and just,
I'm okay with that.
yeah. So I'll have-
But after December, no.
You said they don't meet much, so you could just call in. You could. Zoom in.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have clerk let him know that you'll stay on that. Anything else? Well, we're at 10, so we might as well just move right into agenda items. And you're right there.
I know, that's why I
Okay.
didn't move. The only thing I have on the agenda tomorrow is the C-PACER program, and it's the public hearing at 9:45. I have sent Dean the link so he can log on and watch from afar.
I think he's going to be here.
I figured he would be. And this is the Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency Program. It is the eligibility includes privately owned commercial, agricultural, industrial, multifamily housing, 5 units or more. Property that is owned by any type of business, corporation, individual, or nonprofit. It's nothing that county will hold. County is not making any money on it. We are nothing, we are offering this program, and they contact, right now there's 3 lenders that do it. And they can just get better financing if the county as a whole offers this program. So I believe the person that originally had asked for this, he's doing a project inside city limits of Woodland, and he's just wanting the ability to access this additional financing.
Got it.
The county's not holding anything. We're not offering any money or lending. It's just the program we offer.
And-
We will be the 7th county in the state to offer it. Thurston County has offered it through the Board of Commissioners office. They don't have any applications. They've never processed one, and Clark has processed 2. So,
Yeah, it's not widely used.
no.
And we are allowed to charge to cover our costs.
We are.
Yeah.
so it's fi- yes,
not
it's-
an expense to.
No, it's $500 for them to apply and then we can charge 1% of the, 1% of their project, a minimum of $2,500 and then a cap of 15,000. So that's all we can collect of the whole entire thing. And that basically, it's the charge for our staff.
So
That's
I did want to wax a little philosophically on this, that because, and I'm not, it's not particular that I expect this to change. This particular, it was a decision made before. So the way government does things, everything is a special category, a special set aside of some kind. And as long as we, the public, continue to opt in for this advantage or that advantage, this will continue and they'll buy us. And we have been bought and not paid for a long time. And the not paid for is really the danger. There's the price tag is all over the place from what if we could have a law that allowed you to do this on Tuesday, but not Wednesday? Now I can get in. All kinds of nonsense like that. So any grants anything that interferes with the normal transaction between two consenting adults or, two consenting enterprises is doomed. It's not a good thing. It may take a long time to manifest itself, but we continue to spiral down with special programs. So I would normally, and in this case I do say, no, we don't need yet another category. You don't need, building and planning doesn't need to be aware of yet another detail they have to take into account. And so anyhow, that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with a lot of that, but I think sometimes the fix of that is at the capital. It's hard for me to punish a person trying to do a project and they can take advantage. And it sounds like it feels like at times we end up punishing the wrong side. And the fix is really up in Olympia or Washington DC or wherever you want to do it. So I struggle with that just a hair. I don't think Olympia or DC should get into any business stuff. But I want to be careful. I'm not punishing people and taking them out of a chance to do something. I don't know.
With your permission, the punishing is the sort of categorization that a group always likes to use. If you don't give somebody a free lunch, you're punishing them. If you don't give them this, you're punishing them. And the answer is no, you're not punishing them. You're just not punishing the taxpayer, because if anything is given to you from the government, it comes from the taxpayer. And the issue that I would say it to support your argument is more like we've come into the state where we think the government should fiddle with everything. And all of a sudden, I'm going to decide that we're not going to do that anymore. Well, that can be perceived as a backward negative approach on someone. Reason I bring it up here is not to apply it specifically to this, but use that as a very traditional example of how we get bought.
Yeah, and once again, I'm not really disagreeing with that. It's hard for me to tell people they can't use the tools that even if I disagree with the tools that you can't use them. We're not gonna let you use them. And I'm not sure I struggle with that a little bit, but.
So that's tomorrow, 9:45.
Had
Can't wait.
something- I had another, I already said it, you're able to collect your costs. It's not,
Yes.
not a cost to the
Correct.
county. Yeah. That's the one thing you have tomorrow?
That's all I have for tomorrow. Thank you.
Public Works. Oh, I know what else I wanted to say, because I wanted to be real clear, back to the Pacer, is I know this individual, but I did some business with him at mortgage stuff at Fiber. He did some commercial business, but I don't let that, I work real hard not to let that in. I mean, over 40 years, I've known a lot of people that do business work. It's not unusual for me to be acquainted with those folks. So just up front, I do know this individual, but
Good morning again, Commissioners. So on the agenda for tomorrow, the first motion item, item number 9, is a bid award to JL Stordahl for headquarters transportation of rock materials. We have a award. A couple weeks ago, we opened this up and we had 2 bidders on it. They were very close. I don't know if you recall that. I believe they were within $300 with one another. So we're looking to move forward on this and award it for just shy of $315,000. Now, this rock is used at the landfill for a multitude of things, gas wells, haul roads, both inside and outside of the fill, access roads to our testing locations for monitoring wells, and building tipping pads and things like that within the operation of the landfill. And this is a not to exceed value.
yeah,
I'm good.
All right, thank you.
I remember that bid was pretty close. I was kind of
Yeah, closest one
surprised.
I've seen for that dollar
Yeah.
value in a long time.
So good morning. Our remaining 2 items for tomorrow are resolutions to authorize projects. Excuse me, the first one is for Delameter Road, 2 culverts at milepost 4.10 and 4.42. These projects are being funded through the Protect, which is promoting resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation. So these are 100% funded program projects, and we're asking for the design and engineering for Delameter for $1 million. The total estimated project at this time is $6.8 million. As you can imagine, these are not what a person typically thinks as a culvert. These are 2 big boxes that are going to be replaced. The other resolution is also a Protect funded grant. This one is a little smaller. It is out on Gilmore Road, and it's a Studebaker Creek crossing. That is engineering and right-of-way for $600,000, and our total estimated project is $3.8 million. Excuse me, $3.5 million.
I'm thinking of being nasty here and saying, could you elaborate on Protect?
So on the Protect program, so I
Oh,
will.
no, I'm kidding. It
I will
just-
certainly give you lots of information if you want.
It's, how do you define something like resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation? That requires a crystal ball that is not available.
Oh, come on, Arden, that was probably 3 months hard work by a group.
Well, I want the job as the acronym czar.
So this acronym, it depends on which agency you're applying to, what they're counting as resilient infrastructure. So this money is, so these are all from the ILJA, and this was direct distribution to the state. And there was an agreement between the state, the state county engineers and cities organizations that a portion of the money that went directly to the state was going to be competitive grants for the counties and cities. The state, due to the salmon issues, has defined this money as a fish barrier removal projects. So that is what these two projects are. On the federal level, the Protect money, we have applied for one through DOT and we were unsuccessful. We were like third out. Is generally flooding projects is what they're looking for. So building resilience infrastructure, flooding projects, earthquake retrofits, that is what on the federal level is the projects they're looking for. And so we committed submitted a road that's frequently flooding to upgrade the culverts and do a slight realignment. I know other jurisdictions were doing earthquake resiliency planning. So those were things that on the federal level, they were aiming for.
You came prepared.
Unfortunately, that just floats around in my head.
A question on these two, so this pays for the engineering.
Yes, but the grants were awarded for the whole project.
The whole project.
Yes,
okay.
we're just entering into the initial agreement, which is engineering. The way the state does it, you do the engineering. Once your engineering and your right-of-way is approved, they will then obligate the money for the construction, but it's earmarked for your project.
And we're essentially 100% reimbursed.
On these, yes.
Even we take advantage of the programs.
Of course, of course. But the only thing that is substantially different is that this is, it's a distinction I've made before. Whenever we support something that, say, improves access on exit 21 in Woodland, it's
Yeah.
really available to everybody. There's no, you get this money. No, it's
Yeah.
everybody gets it.
And that's true. There is a distinction, but I just had to say it. One question for you, and it's nothing on this. I should have asked you when you were up before. How's Hall of Justice doing? Because have you had any heat issues? I know
I
Mike
haven't
talked
heard.
about really cranking it so put on your coat when you come in so it would last all day.
I know they were working on that. I haven't had
I
a
just
chance to
didn't know
touch
if you
base
had an
this
update.
morning.
I
Yeah.
just Make sure they were, last year was not very good. We went through some of that. All right.
You were probably thinking, I've offered solutions with sticks of dynamite before. I wonder if that applies here too.
I think that'll work over there too.
I did want to
Just have
give.
Evacuate the building first.
Yeah, I also wanted to give a little warning for the traveling public. Overlay starts this week. This week they are doing night work, so please be careful when you're moving up and around. They're going to be working up on Barnes Drive by Space Age and on Headquarters Road. They're doing night work this week.
Well, I tell you that, that road at Space Age was never developed for those big trucks, all that kind of traffic there. You guys have got some work on your hands, don't you? Yeah.
That they're going to be grinding it out and putting a quite substantial overlay on that section.
So on something like that, where you know you're going to have frequent, substantial, heavy truck traffic, does that mean that at some point, you have to redo the base of the road?
Yes, if there is not a base in it, this is what happened down on Dyke Road, because Dyke Road was
Yeah.
initially, a skiff of gravel, and then we just chip sealed it and overlaid it. That road potentially has a better base because it is right off of the highway and just probably does not have as big of a structure. So yes, when we're doing designs for our arterials and collectors, the pavement section is bigger with a bigger base and a thicker mat just to carry the traffic.
Thank you.
Next I see on the list is sheriff's, and I don't know if he's on his, the stuff looks pretty straightforward. It's all under agreements and contracts, and it looked like it's just interlocal agreements for record services that we do after hours. I don't see anything And then one with the Cowlitz Indian tribe for use of the a range. I didn't see anything that was out of normal there. And I don't see anybody on the sheriff, so I don't think it's all looks pretty straightforward. I think we're charging all the cities. I think Kalama, we're gonna raise them the most. I'm teasing, Mike. Anything else?
No, just public comment if
Yeah,
there is. any,
anything
yeah.
from the public, you guys? I know Jessica had something at 11 today. We can recess till then. Unless if she's available earlier, we could recess to 10:30, maybe get her taken care of. Let's recess till 10:30, see if we can get her in here, okay?
That's good.
Okay, we're back from recess, going into human resources. Jessica.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have a few requests to fill this morning. The first one comes from Public Works, requesting to fill an operator 2 in Kalama shop, plus any domino effect from filling that position. The employee resigned.
We had a
Have a-
resignation.
Yeah, they have a job at DNR.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yep.
Thank you. And then I have a few requests from IT. The first is a request to fill the IT Enterprise Security Analyst position. The employee put in his 2 weeks notice and is resigning this month.
Who put in his 2-week notice?
Aaron Briggs.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Next one is request to fill the ERP Business Technical Manager. The employee resigned the end of May. That was Carl Sampson.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you. And then the next on the list is the request to fill the Enterprise Application Specialist / Developer position. This position was most recently filled back in February for a short period of time, and then previously it was filled by Brett Andrew.
I didn't catch that last.
Previously, it was filled by Brett Andrew.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And then there is a vacant position at Network Analyst. It was vacant effective January of this year. The request is to use this vacancy to fill as a systems analyst position, which is salary grade 265. We haven't had a systems analyst position filled since Aaron Briggs previously held that position prior to his promotion.
Who had it?
Aaron Briggs previously was the systems analyst back in
Yeah,
2022.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, great. Those are all of my requests. And then I have a executive session for performance of a public employee.
Okay. Estimate,
Let's say 10 minutes.
okay. Excuse me. So we'll recess to executive session, performance of a public employee. Okay, back from executive session, no decisions were made. I'll turn it back over to Jessica.
Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have an additional request this morning to do a temporary 10% pay increase to our ERP Business Technical Manager, Denise Van Riper. And this is due to additional duties that she's taken on due to a vacancy.
And we're doing it over a period of time do we expect to fill the vacancy and then things will go back to normal?
We expect to fill the vacancy. So estimate is probably within 6 months, but we can reevaluate at that time.
Seems like a good idea to me.
I'm good.
Thank you.
We're all done? Okay. See nothing else. We will adjourn.